So wanted to demo a feature today that Mark Roadstrom and I have been working on. This is a feature to allow you to deploy an Octopus release from another process. So this came out of one of the Over the Rainbow sessions from the kickoff week. It was something that to be honest, going into that session, I expected the outcome to just be, yeah, this is hard and we probably won't do it again for a while, but it just really came together quickly and feels like a pretty neat solution to it. So I'll show you what we've got. And this is one of the higher ranking user voice issues we have too. I think it's about number 7 on the user voice dashboard with 300 and something votes. So it's nice to get an answer for it as well. So I guess the driver for this feature is the fact that, you know, projects don't exist in a vacuum, right? Sometimes you do need to coordinate between different projects. And so you see here, if we've got a whole collection of projects that we want to typically move through environments together, today there's not really a nice way to do that. So enter the deploy release step. So you can see here, in this case, we've created a bundle project, Voltron, to bundle all our Lion projects together. And the deploy release step, it's a new step type. And what it looks like is you select the project, the child project that you want to deploy. And that's actually all you need to select initially. If that's all you want to do, when you create a release of the parent project, you can then select the version of the child projects that you want to deploy, just like you select versions of packages today. And you can also select the conditions that child project is deployed on. So we can say it's deployed always, we can say it's deployed only if the selected release is not the current, or we can say only if the selected release has a higher version than the current release. So this allows you to model the fact that, you know, this project depends on this project, but only as long as it's version 2.0 of it. The other thing we can do is we can pass variables into these child projects that will be used by the deployment that's triggered. And you'll see that they override existing variables if they already exist in the child project. So this gives us another nice hook to coordinate between these projects. And the other thing that we do is we scoop up any output variables that are created by those child projects and make them available on the step of the parent project, if that makes sense. So this gives us a nice way to let the child projects pass variables back up to the parent project. And to give you an idea of why you might want that, because the nice thing about this is that by being just another step type, it lets us, if we want to, just intersperse regular Octopus steps in this project as well. So we could put a manual intervention step first if we wanted to gate this. We can have a Slack step at the end to notify that our bundle's been created. And you can see here, this isn't going to display very nicely, but we're accessing an output variable that the output variable's on the parent project step, but the value of it actually came from the child project. So it's kind of horrible syntax, but the docs will explain nicely how to use that. That wasn't the greatest bit of demoware, but the fact is you can do it, and it basically fits very nicely with everything else in Octopus, the way the output variables work. So I think it's a pretty nice fit. And then on the dashboard, let's just go and trigger one of these. So we can go create release. We say, yep, we're happy with the versions of all those child projects. And
so those versions it's creating new releases of the child.
It's not creating the releases, it's using already created releases. So the releases of the child projects have to exist.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is, I guess, the classic use case of this is you've got your bunch of whatever they are, microservices, and you want to create a bundle release to move those whole set of releases through your environments together as a bundle. So in this case, my bundle project is now version 0.5, And the nice thing is your bundle project can be versioned completely independently to the child project. So you know how sometimes you might have like a marketing kind of version of a whole release, whereas the actual technical versions of the child projects don't necessarily match. So now if we deploy that, we can look at our dashboard and we'll see the parent project deploying, but it just triggers regular deployments of the child project. So those are all going to run. We should see in a second another one of these kick off. No, it all finished before I got a chance to see it. Yeah, more sleeps. But you'll see that went and deployed all the child versions of those projects, and the dashboard reflects reality. So it shows the versions of the child projects that are deployed to the environment and also of the parent bundle.
Right, however they got there.
However they got there.
The black line. So
Independent.
the hero can go and do an independent mission, or you can deploy Voltron.
Exactly. So that's about it. This feature is going to ship in 2018.2, so the next release.
That's
and
a new release.
Yeah, yep. And yeah, big kudos to Mark Roydstrom, who did a lot of the work on this. And that's all I've got.
Nice.
I assume there's no constraint that says you have to be using the same lifecycle there. Just we'll pick the lifecycle environments and deploy to them if they're valid for the child projects.
Right, so there's no constraint that says they have to have the same life cycle, but the life cycles must be compatible. So if you're deploying the bundle project to dev, all the child projects those releases must be eligible to be deployed to dev, or it will throw an error.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
But because it's just a standard step, you can still, you can exclude a deploy step on an environment if that child one doesn't need, just using the standard controls that say skip this step on this environment. Like you get all that standard step stuff for free.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, you could use channels likewise.
Yeah.
And so, you can parallel steps, stuff like that. If you just want to kick everything off in parallel, that'll work. As long as you don't run into your task limit potentially.
So this was all leveraging current release infrastructure as well. There were no changes to the APIs or anything like that.
The only thing that had to change is Mark added basically kind of a new feed type. It basically added Octopus releases as a feed type. So behind the scenes, what you're actually doing is pulling releases from a feed, and that's the versions that you're seeing there.
So you're saying channels work now with projects, like a child project can be versioned with channel rules.
Yeah, you can scope the steps, so say only run this for this channel. And you can do auto release creation, all works. So I didn't actually demo that, but you can set it up so that a release of the parent project is automatically created when a new release of the child project becomes available.
All right.
If that makes sense.
So it's ARC, not based on packages.
Based on
ARC
child projects, because we figured that might be what you wanted in some cases.
Right.
So everything just pretty much fit. It was quite nice the way it all came together, I think.
Yeah. Just one thing I've noticed during the demo was that the packages area still talks about packages instead of them being releases. Is that something that's still a work in progress? Because I got a little bit confused about it for a second.
Because we work on the releases, not packages.
Yeah.
I'll let you take that one, Mark.
Now we see what you're doing.
Do you mean when you go create release?
Yeah.
Yeah, so originally we had two separate areas. Here's the packages you need for this release, and here's the projects you need for this release. And it didn't feel nearly as nice as just putting it all in a big list. There might be a label we need to change to say project/package, but in our using it, we felt it just felt nicer just having it all in one thing.
Yeah, one big list was some way to discriminate between the two, because when I saw packages as a big bold heading, and then the help text kind of described all about packages, but none of the things in the list happened to be packages.
Yeah, I think it's just no other word immediately came to our minds. So it, like Mark said, it seems weird having two different sections for it, because they're all the same thing. You're just choosing the versions of the things that you wanted.
Yeah.
But you're right, they're not technically packages.
Yeah.
So I mean, to be honest, we weren't planning on changing that for for before release. But if we think we should, then we can.
That was the only thing that stood out to me, was it just didn't quite feel right. So, and I feel like it just generates support that we didn't need.
Or just dependencies. Whether
Yeah.
that dependency is a package or a product.
Stuff I need.
Stuff I
We
need.
call
That's another term you can use as well.
The technical term is stuff.
Stuff. We'll have a chat and see if we can come up with some better versioning. Because I guess the same thing. The more things we put in there, the less they are just packages. I mean, you can choose Docker containers.
Versions.
Yeah, versions. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my question was coming from, will it just work through OctoXE?
I checked Octo.exe create release yesterday and it worked fine.
Just
Okay. Do you have to define the package versions arguments to define the actual releases you want from the child package projects?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you get that same little bit of rough edge there, I suspect.
Yeah, you've got to call it -- pro package. Yeah, we could always alias that to also accept project version or something, child project, but it's still worthwhile.
Nice.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's super, super cool. Love it.
Yeah.